Good evening, everybody. Before we start talking, I've got to do some apologizing. I've got 19 other videos out there. Each you'll notice that I had a ball hat on, and the reason why I use that ball hat is to block the overhead light because my type of vision, light actually goes in and reflects in the fluid that's in my eyes, and it's like trying to look through thick fog, and it's really hard and distorting everything that I see. And anyway, that's the reason I would put the hat on, is so that the bill would kind of divert, much like my hand is doing right now, to try to keep that light out of my eyes so I can have some kind of sense of direction. But I was listening to my audio Bible the other day, and it said, "Ashamed should be he that speaks the gospel and has his head covered." Well, I couldn't read it, so I have to rely on what I heard in the Bible. And I was listening to Paul talk in his letters to the Gentiles. I believe it was in First or Second Corinthians that I may have heard this, because today I listened to Galatians and Ephesians, and which is why I got inspired to do this video today, is because of some things I heard in Ephesians. So I need to apologize to the Lord. I meant no offense to him, and I meant nothing against his word. Everything I spoke in those videos is genuine. I just use that to assist me, and I guess I should not be worried so much about me. I should just operate in a blind mode. I was trying to be effective in delivering the word and delivering the message, but I can't even tell what direction I'm at right now, simply because everything is blinding. But eventually I'm going to be totally blind. I won't be able to see anything. But for those who might see my other videos and see that I have that hat on and I don't have it on this time, now you understand why that I put that on. It's not to offend the Lord. It wasn't to offend you. So I ask his forgiveness and yours for those who may see this. But I wanted to talk to you today. As I said, I was listening to Galatians and Ephesians, and I wanted to talk about difference. What is the difference? Now, in our society today, we have many differences. We have differences of opinion, differences of diet, differences of how to gain and lose weight, differences of what we watch on TV, differences in types and makes of cars, styles of houses, how we raise our children. Everything is a difference based on we have our own personal cue card, and we put our own scores in, and that's what we pass on to our kids, who learn to do the exact same thing. Mom taught me this. I don't necessarily agree with that, so I'm going to cross that out. But now she did teach me that, and I'm going to keep that going. And Dad told me this, and I don't believe that, but he also told me this, and I believe it, so I'm going to keep that one going. And that's how they build what they're going to pass on to their kids, and so on, and so on, and so on. It's where difference comes in. You will worship God differently than I will. You will pray to God differently than I will. Some people don't even do that at all. And it's your right to your own opinion. It's your right to believe and do the way you wish to do. But let me just say this. There is only one path. One. That one path is to obtain your righteousness in Jesus. This was mentioned in Ephesians today, and that's what got my attention and inspired me to talk about this. In Ephesians, just because you're obeying the law, just because you're going to school every Sunday and praising the Lord and praying, and just because that you're giving your tithes and you're doing missions and all the things that you think is right, unless your righteousness is in Jesus, Everything that you're doing will never be remembered because you do not earn your ticket to heaven. It's not done and earned by your deeds. It is earned by righteousness and holiness. And there's only one way to obtain that, and that is through Jesus Christ. You have to believe in Him and accept Him and accept His gospel and preach His gospel and live His gospel and pass His gospel on and do all things the way He said. And if not, you're kidding yourself. It's like sitting in a car that's got one tire that has traction and you're stuck in the mud. And it doesn't matter how much gas you give that thing, all that tire's going to do is spin and throw mud and dig your hole deeper. You're going to have to get out and do things to help unstick the car. You are going to have to get out and get your righteousness planted in Jesus. You are going to have to get spiritually aligned with Him because in Him you will live again. It's just the way it is. But as I was talking, there's differences. Some people agree with that, some people won't. We're taught that Moses went up into the mountain and received the 10 Commandments. And God created the first ones. He cut out the stone tablets and wrote the 10 Commandments upon that stone. And Moses came down from the mountain, and when he saw the great sin that the children of Israel were doing because of what the Lord had told him, he broke those 10 Commandments. Now, he obviously restored them because God told Moses to make 2 more stone tablets for Moses to make the tablets this time. And he told him exactly how big to make them and so forth, and to bring them up to the mountain. And God would restore unto him the writings of the 10 Commandments. But what I wanted to focus on is the fact that they were made on stone tablets. In my video, the difference between law and rule, that's a video you should watch. It will capitalize on this. It gives an understanding as to what the difference is. The law is written in stone. And the reason why it's written in stone is because stone does not bend. If you put pressure on stone, it will break. It's either going to uphold that pressure or it's going to break. And that's the way the law is. The law is like a light switch. Right now, this light is on. If I flip this switch, it's off. And now it's back on. In either case, there is no in between. It's not half on and half off. You can't bend it. You can't negotiate with it. You can't twist it around. The light is simple. It is either off or it is on. The law with God is the same way. It is written in stone. Either you are going to uphold that stone and it will remain intact, or you are going to break that stone, which means you are a sinner. Everyone has a difference of opinion. You're welcome to yours. But these are facts. If you think you can find a piece of stone out there that you can just bend, I'd like to see it. I'd like to go with you to the mountain where the stone is and see you grab a piece of that rock and just twist it. Tie a bow tie with it. Because I know you can't do it, not with a rock. And you know it too. But anyway, differences of opinion and differences of view and differences in everything that we do. We have different cars that we drive, and we raise our children differently, and we have different menus that we eat, and everything is about difference. And it's all based on our recommendations we think is best for us. We need to throw those cards away We need to go with what Jesus says is best for us. We need to let Him write those cards, and we need to own up to those and do what He tells us. We need to get in righteousness with Him and through Him. If we don't, we're wasting our time. In our society, we have differences in our laws. Now, in our laws, 5 of the laws that God wrote in the 10 Commandments, and you can find these in Exodus, the 10 Commandments, 5 of those laws are between the relationship between man and God. The other 5 are the relationship between man and man. Our laws of the land are based on the 5 between man to man. That is the law that they have adopted in our court systems. To prove it to you, you say, okay, one of the laws about man's relationship with another man or woman, so to speak, is adultery. Okay, if you remember court cases and divorces back in the 60s and the 70s, it used to be you slept with my best friend, and them cases went on for years, fighting about custody, about who was untrue and who fornicated and who cheated. And the lawyers had a real entertaining show while they charged their clients thousands of dollars to let the left side of the courtroom throw mud at the right side of the courtroom and vice versa. And it basically become a mudslinging contest. Until nowadays, divorces have been dumbed down. Doesn't matter who's at fault for what. A divorce is decided, everything's split down the middle. Custody is then awarded to whoever the best parent is, basically whoever's got the most money. And there you go. If the man's got a really, really good job, then the woman's going to get custody of the kid and a great big fat paycheck out of his check. That's just the way it's going to go. That's society. That's how we have differences. But you can see the adultery in the 10 Commandments still works in the court system. Just like these other two. These other 2 laws I'm about to mention, thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not kill. Yep, everybody knows that if you commit murder, you're going to jail 25 to life if you don't get the death penalty, and so forth. But you also notice that if you steal something, the penalties are much more steeper for stealing something than they are for killing somebody. Look at Al Capone. Al Capone went to prison for 60 years for tax evasion. And look at all the people he killed. And he didn't serve a day for that. But yet, he went to prison for 60 years for tax evasion. Same thing goes with other things. You can kill somebody and get 25 to life. But you steal $100,000 and they'll put you in that jail cell until the jail cell is dust around you. In fact, if you steal anything from anybody, they will put you in a building and then they will lose the planet that contains the country that has the providence where the building you're in is. They'll just lose it. And you'll be there. And nobody will remember you because you stole something. But you kill somebody, and they'll just put you in jail, and they'll either execute you or they'll just keep you in prison for the rest of your life and make you a slave and whatever. I mean, this is just the way our society is. They'll let you out for good behavior and all this other good stuff. It just depends on how they like you. And it is the truth. Many of us out there can go back through our history and we can look this up. Stealing is higher in stature than killing, and it is. Only recently has that been kind of changing, but it really hasn't, because these peaceful protesters, as the media keeps saying, and they call them peaceful protesters. I don't know what peaceful protester needs to burn down a building or to blow up a car. I mean, I thought peace meant you're walking around chanting you don't like somebody and that's it. That's not how it's working. But anyway, be that as it may, I'm not getting in that mess, and I don't really care. Just as long as they stay away from here. The statute of theft is way higher than murder. And we make a difference in it. The Lord God does not make a difference. There is no difference in the law. Any law that's violated of His has the exact same penalty. And it doesn't matter. It's the same penalty. For example, the first commandment, I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, for I am a jealous God. Okay, so if you put a God in front of our God and worship it and sacrifice unto it, well, that's a big sin to God because He's jealous. Not only is He going to judge that thing that you are bowing down to, but He's going to be very mad at you. And that's a sin. And if you don't repent for that and do what is supposed to be done, like through Jesus Christ, and be forgiven for it, the penalty for your iniquity and your transgression against the Lord is to go to the pit. And I've done 2 videos about the pit. One of them is your soul is a grain of sand, and the other one is into the pit. I suggest you look both of those up, because hell is very much a real place. But anyway, if you commit that sin, then you're going there. And then it says, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, nothing in heaven, nothing in the earth, nothing that flies above the earth, nothing into the sea. And it goes on. It's a big paragraph that tells you not to make these things. Okay, if you do that, then guess what? That's also a sin. And if you did it one time or if you did it 1,000 times, it doesn't matter. The wage of sin is death. And you go into the pit. Just like the one that says, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. So if you tell one lie in the entire course of your life, guess what? You're going into the pit. If you commit adultery one time in your life, you're going into the pit. If you kill somebody one time, you're going into the pit. If you steal something one time, you're going into the pit. If you tell 10,000 lies, you're going into the pit. If you sleep with 150,000 women, you're going into the pit. If you covet 1,000,000 times, you're going into the pit. You see, the penalty for all of these sins is exactly the same wage. It's death into the pit. You see, the worst thing that could ever happen to you is not going to hell. It's not suffering in hell. Sure, that is really, really bad. But there is something far worse than that. There's one thing that is far worse than that. Want to guess what it is? That's being forgotten by God and by Jesus. If they forget you, you're finished. And I mean you are finished. Because they will never remember you again. And true to their word, they will make certain that very thing happens. So, is there a difference? Yeah, there's a difference to us, but not to the Lord. The difference to the Lord is there is no difference. There's no partiality. There's no change of heart. There's nothing. The law is written in stone. And the Lord God sent Jesus Christ to help those who stumble, because the law did not have room for stumbling. That's why it was necessary. In that video, What Kind of a King is Jesus? It tells you why he had to come. He had to come to help us. This is video number 20 out there. Don't let the fact that I wear a ball cap in those discourage the word because the word is sound and true. I'm not perfect, and I guess that will prove it that I'm a human just like all of you, and I make mistakes and I trip and fall too. This will be a test of your mercy and forgiveness against me when you watch these videos. Do you discredit me because of what you see by judging a book based on its cover? Or are you actually interested in the word that's being spoken? That is up to you guys. I hope this opens your eyes, and I hope that it gives you an understanding about differences, because just because we make differences and difference in choices out here, it doesn't make a difference to God. The law is still a law. The rules that he lays are still the rules that he lays for us to follow by. Now, he can bend rules. We cannot. The law of gravity is actually a rule of gravity. He can manipulate that. We cannot. We did not make it. That's his monopoly board. If he wants to manipulate it, he can manipulate it. But the law, he treasures that law. He has treasured that law long before the creation of the earth, and he will treasure that law long after this earth has moved and gone away. So you guys, happy holidays. God bless.